no está en primer lugar en el mundo, cultural nuestras raíces.
Hi, welcome to Bonano TV. My name is John Kasonso. This program is going to be called Trend News and Events Analysis. We're going to be coming here to analyze the news and events that are taking place around the world with a focus on Zambia. So today is a debut show for this kind of a show. We're going to be looking at the events that are taking place in Zambia and also analyze the news as things are happening in Zambia. Try and just get the gist of what is happening and the sense of what is going on. I am broadcasting from the great state of Iowa in the middle of the United States. And I am going to be the host for this program. And I thank you for tuning in. And I want you to share this broadcast with people. Today's topics, we examine the probability of the Edgar Lungu comeback. We examine the probability of the Edgar Lungu comeback. There's a lot of news around that topic right now. And there's a lot of trending stories around that. And the second one we are going to look at is the potential losers and the winners from the in-house PF wranglings. The potential losers and winners from the in-house PF wrangles. We're going to give an opinion about that. And then thirdly, we're going to bring about the perspectives of the now popular QUIP, Kutumpa Uko. We are going to give some perspectives about that and other topics as our viewers try to throw in. So I encourage you to share this broadcast with your friends and your family. And what I'm waiting for you to do that. I am going to invite the Serenje Kalindula Band to entertain us with Nemwine Nikafa Wangu. And I'll be back to talk about these topics on this trending news and analysis show. Thank you.
When it comes to U.S. cellular prepaids,
Okay, welcome back to Bonanno TV's trending news and events analysis. So we have three topics today to deal with. The first one, I'm going to be posting it here shortly. The first topic that we are going to analyze is the probability of the Edgar Lungu comeback. During the last 2 weeks or several, our understanding was that the former president, Mr. Edgar Lungu, who is in retirement according to government records and is not in active politics, therefore he is drawing a salary and he's appropriating other benefits of a former president. Yeah. But people have come up in the media trying to advocate for his return, and some are blatantly even saying that he may have just played a trick on the government that is not in active politics, but in the actual fact is still the president for the Patriotic Front. And as such, he continues to uncircumspectly rather, then he continues to draw benefits of a former president resting, but at the same time continuing to enjoy the privilege or we can call it a privilege of being a president of the biggest opposition in Zambia. And some are loud even in social media and other places, calling for the President Lungu to become much more active as the bona fide president of the Patriotic Front. Yeah. So that's one thing that is going on. There are musings of trying to put President Lungu as an active politician. But from what we know and the official government records, he has retired from politics and therefore is enjoying these benefits. The Zambian law or Zambian constitution does not allow for a former head of state to be drawing a salary whilst in active politics. A former head of state that is taken care of by the government is one that has retired from active politics. So there is a lot of confusion around this topic, and many people are saying something. So, but what I wanted to offer right now is an assessment of whether President Lungu really has a chance to make a comeback to the political landscape of the Republic of Zambia. And in order to tackle that or analyze that properly, first of all, I want to give you a bit of what I believe is the background to the president's, the former president, whether he really has a chance to come back and be president again. Up front, I would say that the chances of becoming a president again cannot be just determined by a lone voice as an individual. But we can analyze events of a person, a political party, or a social movement, or we can even analyze public behaviors of an individual to come up with some basic predictions and of what the probable outcome are. The first place to start from is to look at how President Lungu, how Mr. Lungu became the president of Zambia. What were the critical factors that put Mr. Lungu in the seat in the first place to be president? I think if we can address that, then it is that can help us, together with analyzing how he governed and the current political mood. Those can help us to come up with what will be substantively a constructive prediction. And that is the purpose of this section, is to make a constructive prediction if there is a high or low probability for Mr. Edgar Lungu to make a comeback. First of all, when Mr. Lungu became president in 2014, he was not much known to the people of Zambia. And in the patriotic front, there arose certain tempestuous people who thought that Mr. Lungu was the right person to become president and succeed Mr. Michael Sata, who had passed on at the time. In my estimation, I think that Mr. Lungu's first presidential run, on his path, on the way to become president, the first thing that we can learn from that event was that because Mr. Lungu had very little name recognition, the first election that he won, there were two main critical factors that helped him. Number one, this is the biggest one of them all. Mr. Lungu won because he stood on the ruling party ticket. Mr. Lungu won because he stood on a ruling party ticket. The ruling party had access to the government machinery, government resources, and had the government's reach to take the candidate across the country with a specific narrative that the population could believe. So the first factor that caused Mr. Lungu to win that election is the government machinery. And that is the thing that went ahead and improvised, in some cases, many important qualities that he was lacking personally as a candidate. That is what he had working for him. Number one, it was the government machinery. So the point here is that there was no way that Mr. Lungu could have won the presidential election with little name recognition. There was no way that Mr. Lungu could have won that election without factor number one, the government machinery supporting his candidature. And number two, when winning in political office, we also look at the messaging. Mr. Lungu did not have a very compelling personal message to become the basis on which people could vote for him. Mr. Lungu had the party narrative, and the party narrative was he is the one who has been left to be the successor. He was selected successor. We are a democracy. People are supposed to go for an election and they vote. But in that situation, it was like a coronation. He was the king's child or the king's nephew or the king's something, and then he was just to jump on there. Now, who was he succeeding? He was succeeding a very popular president at the time who had died. So he was, so to speak, kind of like a poster child for the funeral. So they made him stand up, go on different platforms and to suggest he was a successor, and he was a poster child of a funeral. So there was a popular funeral that was the selling message that he was selected. It's like yeah. So first, as we continue, let me have my friend come on here, Derek. I think he has gone, so he's still in the background. So, but anyway, so those are the two critical factors. Mr. Lungu didn't have a message, a compelling message of his own to tell the people of Zambia. Or like if because no. And two, Mr. Lungu didn't have a compelling strategy, or what we call in business a vision. He even refused that he didn't have a vision. So, and then he didn't, because he was not well known, people didn't even know the strengths of his character as a person to provide leadership to the country. So the fundamentals of what a person should have to become president, he didn't have any of those. All he had was a situation. The first situation, Charichirilo. And the second situation, Charichirilo, in the party that was in power. So that is how Mr. Lungu came. So anything that he could not, have, anything that he could not improvise from his personality was improvised by those two things: either the sympathy that is succeeding a deceased man, or the government machinery improvising qualities of things he didn't have. And a lot of people who worked for Mr. Satawu didn't want to lose their jobs. So we cannot forget that Balungu tapari fawaletere pa stage ya Zambia. This is a compelling story. This is a compelling vision. This is what he wants to do in the country. This is where he wants to take the country. So kuri if you want qualities ya wakateka wachitefyo tapari. But can a person become a president without that quality? Of course, in Zambia, we have a track record of many people. No personal message, no personal character, no personal compelling dream or plan of what they wanted to do. Yeah. So we have many of them who were just put there by the government machinery, and some of them could not even talk. For example, His Excellency Levi Patrick Mwanawasa, the late, may he so rest in peace, also fits in that category. Levi Mwanawasa, when he became president, it was the government machinery under the dribblings of Frederick Chiluba that put him there. And then he didn't have any of those things. He may have had character and was maybe probably a little bit more known because he was a vice president in the past. So he was a better case, far much better case than how Mr. Lungu emerged. But they have something in common between Mr. Mwanawasa and Mr. Lungu. It was the government machinery that coronated them. And everything they lacked was improvised by the government. So another one that we had who stood on those grounds, who was helped by a government machinery, was His Excellency the late Rupia Banda. Rupia Banda was a sitting vice president when his boss died. So he both had a funeral and the government machinery, and he, because of being the vice president, the second guy in command, he was able to become president under those circumstances. We didn't have something specific in terms of a dream that Rupia Banda wanted to do for the country. We didn't have a specific a message that he wanted, a compelling message that could cause people to vote for him. Of course, we knew him because he was a long public servant and he was a vice president of the country. So when Mr. Lungu became president, he was probably what we would call the most serious anomaly, because he had lesser qualities than other people who had become president, just on the back of the backing of the government machinery. So that is how Mr. Lungu came. And now, after maybe a year or so in power, then he came back for another election. And at that point, he was now generating personal sympathy that you can't be in a job for less than 2 years, and you haven't even proven yourself. So again, in the second election to win, it required him to have government machinery. He had not improved on having a personal message. He had not improved on having and like a message or a specific dream of what he wanted to do for the country, or the character that people should emulate. He didn't have those qualities. So let me invite my friend here, Derek, and see if he's ready to have a go at the first point. We are still dealing with the first point, the probability of Mr. Edgar Lungu has come back. So first we've spoken about how Mr. Lungu came, into power. Then we are going to talk about how he governed briefly, and then we are going to project if he has a better chance of coming back. But let me welcome my friend, Derek, Pastor Derek from Johannesburg. How are you, Pastor Derek? Welcome to Bonano TV.
Dr. Jones Kasonso, I'm well, and I hope the same for all the Zambians. You know, we love Zambians. That's why we talk about Zambia all the time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pastor Derek. I just narrated the entry of Mr. Lungu, because before we talk about whether how he governed and whether he can come back, we have to talk about the way he came. So I've just finished that narrative. What are your thoughts on just the rise to power of Mr. Lungu? What do you think about that?
Him coming back into power.
No, before we can talk about his coming back, the rise of Mr. Lungu to power that he wants to come back to. So, because we have to deal with the background. So what are your thoughts on the rise of Mr. Lungu to power before he became president, or what led to becoming president?
Professor Jones, let's put it this way. I came rushing into the studio. Before I answer to that, I don't want to mislead myself and maybe, be out of the script for this program. Let me listen in first and catch my steam and see where we are going. Okay. Because the information that we bring out is here to last forever, or this information is we're investing in our country. So okay. I don't want to be off the script. Let me first catch on the wind here.
Okay. So we are thank you, Pastor Derek. So we are trying to evaluate the probability of the Edgar Lungu comeback. So we've said I have offered an opinion or a chronicle of what I think were the fundamentals that made Mr. Lungu, and the conclusion is: number one, the sympathy from the funeral of the late President Michael Sata was a very big factor. And we had President Lungu, Mr. Lungu in those days, as a poster child of this big funeral with his feeble arms folded in front of him. So he was able to generate a vote through that. And whatever he couldn't get, he could use. There was a bit of the government machinery. People were working with the President Sata who could not fathom the idea of losing jobs just in the middle of the President Sata's terms. So they gathered around Mr. Lungu and had him continue with the presidency and the party in power. How he governed, first of all, we'll comment on three things. The core group that Mr. Lungu had in the patriotic, had found in the Patriotic Front that worked with Mr. Sata. Most of those rejected Mr. Lungu and he threw them out of the party. They left. And so he went and co-opted by MMD. So that Edgar Lungu's Patriotic Front is a hybrid of stolen MPs from MMD. So the original crowd was not there. That is on the political front. And then the other thing that happened was that not only did he threw out the people who were working with Mr. Sata and were disagreeable to some of the things he wanted to do. He had to stamp his own authority and create his own people. So Michael Sata's Patriotic Front and Edgar Lungu's Patriotic Front, within a period of about 24 to 48 months, were totally two different parties. Totally two different parties. The level of discipline was different, and the approach to life and governing was totally different. So that is why the heritage of today's Patriotic Front is Edgar Lungu's heritage, because most of the people who served the longest are people who he appointed and people who he worked with. On the economic front, Edgar Lungu told the country that he had no vision, so he didn't have a particular strategy or passion about something. Then he stumbled upon some lucrative deals. He developed a language called development. And for him, the concept of economic development for Zambia, if you ever watch Dubai, Monama buildings, you see the buildings, the beautiful big buildings there, and then you decide that those buildings, you should have them in Zambia, but you don't have the money. So they step out to go and borrow money from China and from other places to come and make those constructions. There was no mathematics, there was no proper financial analysis to do. So much so that by the time he was coming, he had been elected once, and he had also been elected the second time. And then again, he attempted to go for a third time in office for a third election. So by the time he was trying to hit the third election, the country was in a very bad shape financially. The same borrowings for constructions, those constructions could not generate the money to pay back to the countries or the institutions where they borrowed from. The economy was literally grounded. And the big expose was the COVID pandemic that exposed what has come, that this man was in office, and the level of incompetence and ineptitude, and the fact that he wasted so much potential, so much time for the Republic of Zambia. And then he was replaced. He was replaced. Mr. Lungu was replaced. So based on this track record, from the way he came in to the way he governed and the way he exited, I can constructively predict that Mr. Lungu's probability of making a comeback is less than 1%. Is less than 1%. Mr. Lungu is not going to come back as the president of the Republic of Zambia. And let me be the first one to stake it out here that no matter how Mr. Lungu tries, he is not going to make it. The first reason why he will not make it is that the biggest factor that helped him become president in the first place is no longer there. Mr. Lungu does not have the government machinery to dribble stuff for him that's made him sit in the throne of the president, in the seat of the president. Without that, Mr. Lungu cannot win an election in Zambia. Why? Because he has no compelling story. He has no compelling vision. He has no compelling message to tell the country. He has no specific dream or dance that he can take for the Zambians. And that factor of government machinery is now firmly in the hands of his opponent. So, Derek, that is my probability. Mr. Lungu's capacity to return to be president of Zambia is less than 1%. Is less than 1%. He does not have a chance to become president again because the biggest factor that worked for him to make him president, which is the government machinery, is no longer in his hands. It's in the hands of his opponents. So what do you think, Pastor Derek?
That is a very good analysis, and let's put it this way. The problem that I have really is that this discussion actually takes us away from things that are so important for the development of Zambia. But the fact that there are those speculations, then yes, we have to answer to that and comment as we are commenting, and explain to ourselves and to our people what that means.
Yes, we will return tomorrow to answer some questions from our friend Robbie about the economic development process. We'll continue with that, but we have to continue to address this issue. So the people who we used to pay, and the way that's used to happen, Lungu over fire. Nabatampana for which Lungu over fire, but takuri government machinery. And I think that the noblest, if Mr. Lungu has wise advisors, he must sit this one out. He has no chance of coming back. So the second point the second topic that I want us to look at, the second one that I want us to look at is the eruption of wrangles within the Patriotic Front. The eruption of wrangles within the Patriotic Front. The Patriotic Front has evolved into these wrangles, and who are the potential losers and winners from these in-house wrangles? They told us that in March this month, they will be able to elect a new president. But they have not been able to elect a new president. And because they are not able to elect a new president, the party is in disarray. And some of the elements want Mr. Lungu to come back. We have addressed that. And others now are targeting others to eliminate them, not to even participate in an election. So a big fight has ensued in-house. So the potential losers and winners, first of all, the original PFers who went out of the PF, who were chucked out and then they come back, those are in column number 1 amongst the losers in the in-house conflicts. Why? Because once they were gone from the Patriotic Front, their friends, I'm talking about the likes of Miles Sampa, the Chimbakambwili, and GBM, those who had left PF and now try to come back, belong to the first column of losers. First of all, they don't have a clout on parliamentary privileges. There are few who are in parliament from that group. And the two, whilst they were gone from the Patriotic Front, there were other people who came in and consolidated their places around Mr. Lungu. So those people are the first group of losers. The first group of losers in the Patriotic Front are those abawelele numa, baya elobawelele numa. What do you think about that group, my friend, Pastor Derek?
Let's put it this way. You're quite right when you talk about the confusion that is happening in PF. And what I see out of it, really, everybody knows, first of all, what is happening. Like you said, the way you've summarized it is the way it is. But what I see out of this is a situation where there will be birth. This is going to birth other political parties, especially if Mr. Lungu is going to officially announce that he's coming back. All we're going to have from there is just a birth of new political parties out of the first group of, PF, used to be PF, the ones that went out and then they came back. Yeah. So I foresee a situation where, in frustration of them not being elected as, the presidents of the PF, to create its continuity, we're going to have a situation where, in frustration, they're going to form other political party. So we're looking forward to that. People think this is dramatic. No, there's more drama coming.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I thank you for jumping to the front of the conversation. So the losers are those who left the PF and tried to come back. Those are not going to be able. Those are not going to be able to come to win anything from there. The losers are not going to be. They're not going to have anything. Another group of losers, actually. You know, when you are fighting directly, the people who are in court against each other, the people who are in court against each other. When you go to court, people don't realize this, but I've been to court so many times, and I never wish to go back to court again, to go to court in my life again. When you go to court, Derek, nobody wins, everybody loses.
Yeah.
When you go to court, nobody wins, everybody loses. You lose something, you lose some people, you lose some money, you lose an important. The court is not a good place.
Time itself.
Yeah. Now, in my late 40s, that's when I understand the counsel of Jesus, that if you have issue, sort it out before you go to court. Sort it before you go to court. So the second group of losers are those who are in court against each other. They are going to lose big time. They are going to lose big time. So the first ones are those who went out of the PF and then went back. And then the second one are those who are in court. They are playing double trickery here. They go to court. There is a contempt of court. And then they say, no, they should be saved. And then they start hiding from being saved. The papers, and then once they are hiding from being saved, they also counter sue with their own contempt case. So there is a lot of wasting money and wasting time and dragging each other in court. So and the final loser is the Patriotic Front. Since the president Michael Sata died, the Patriotic Front didn't have a leader. The only leader it had was the one who was to benefit from sitting in Mr. Sata's seat. And once that has ended, the Patriotic Front is, we should probably, former carpenter, twambire kyalimu okubasa embokoshi ya Patriotic Front. Patriotic Front, tapali uko ilea. Na Yesu alilandira ati, the house divided against itself cannot stand. Na shetani umwini owabipa na ngali divided against shetani umwini tete ati stand. What more the Patriotic Front? Ama disciples bakwa shetani. Oh, that's just supposed to be a joke. But they did a lot of damage. So sometimes some of us attribute Bantwani kaneba PF kumisango ya kwaka sebanya. But even in the kingdom of darkness, the division, in-house division, makes the party or the group or the family not be able to stand. So the losers is the Patriotic Front. Now the winners. The winners are the United Party for National Development. The UPND is the biggest beneficiary from the internal wranglings of the internal wranglings in the Patriotic Front. And that is our analysis. My take on the second point. On the second point there, that is the analysis I have on that. The losers are the people who left PF and then try to go back. And the second group of losers are those who are fighting each other in court. When you go to court, nobody wins. And then the third loser is the party itself, the Patriotic Front. Because the Patriotic Front is losing so much, we must start if forever carpenter kwamba okubasa embokoshi ya PF. Ubwato twabashire ntwanikane nembesa nomba bule bwino bwato ebwalaluka nimbokoshi yakushikira ma political careers y'abantu. Finally, there's a piece here. We want to offer some perspectives on what has become a common phrase now in Zambia, something that has become very common in Zambia here. I hope Barbara Mchobeka, pronounce. So, Navesa, thank you for watching from Cape Town. Yeah, so the final point that I want to analyze or examine here is the perspective of the Kutumpa Uko QUIP and other topics. Yeah, so the Patriotic Front camp keeps sending these signs to the UPND group about the potential for President Lungu to come back. Yeah, so then President Hakainde Hichilema did respond, and he quipped that phrase, Kutumpoko. He says, when I was in the opposition, the other guy wanted to win an election and hand over power to himself. And he categorically said, when he wins, he is going to arrest me, meaning arresting Hakainde Hichilema, and then he will die in jail, you know. And then HH says, can I now sit here and look to cede power and wait for you to come and arrest me so that I can go and die in jail? And he characterizes that thinking, and that's what he called Kutumpoko. So, but people have gone to the bank with Kutumpoko. Abalefayo umutengo wa bunga uweleko ngata uwelele panshi ni Kutumpoko. And I don't know Mozambique for twaba, but I just need to make this known. You know, I've been around since the advent of Ubunga Mzambia na kulile mbunga na ngunise kama smiles yendi yele moneka kubino fumulando wama sausage yako America mukati mu abafyo Ubunga because ebo nakulile mo Ubunga ine kufuma kupona ali umwa ichine kufuma pona na kukile ko kusamufa kwa kachito kuno nemido tumikalile tabwabu elapo panshi number e concept wa kwata kuzambia kwa tubwesho Ubunga. I know I'll talk about that on the business segment. But our perspective, the first perspective on the Kutumpoko comment is number one, the president was giving a warning. You know, sometimes inkala munga iliyapata ilechta sound out, ile chiunda fila sound out. I think our wise bala kutika. That is what that president was doing. In Epalwandi, what I saw in that comment from the president was warning that, you know, being peaceful, not having people talk, not having his cadres retaliate, or not having his government venture out on violence or anything like that. The president was warning that people should not take peace for granted because he's a human being and is capable of just being equally vindictive, if not for anything else, for the things that those Patriotic Front people did to him. So, ababale musonsomba kateka, wale sonsomba the night of long knives Mzambia. Muchitefyo bane, you know? Mulekeni umwini ateke mandate ya kwa pushe fyo, you know. Next time my election style Africa. So lekeni kumusonsomba. That Kutumpoko was a warning. Ukwetama tuina omfwe. That Kutumpoko was a warning. A warning ukwewati. Power to punish and turn anybody into a culprit is with him. Power to turn on people is with him. So that is what we think, that the Kutumpoko comment was not a joke but a warning. So abakwetama tu inabomfwe because uguwe president tekula afe mkula imyokuboko kula sekelela abantu. president alikuwa tensambu kufuma kumulu ya kupanika abantu. So bale folk bapanika kabali abaye bapanika. Yeah. So anyway, so Pastor Derek is back. Pastor Derek.
Yes.
But PF President Alanda Kutumpa Uko bambokola bati yo tukana bambokola museka. They nenkala mungaire buluma ba Derek. Bushebuto waya pitira kokula kwinoko ile buluma cheko wala mukubutira.
And that is a way of President Hakainde Hichilema asserting himself to say his kindness mustn't be taken for granted. Nanguni just at the household level, the family ought to know the voice of the father. And that statement in itself, it needed to come from the president so that, even the politics of the streets can understand that the president does realize the authority that is upon him.
Great. That is powerful, Pastor Derek. Yeah. So, but anyway, some of our friends are not here today. They will come another time, but this is a debut show on trending news and events. And today we spoke about the probability of Mr. Edgar Lungu's comeback, the potential losers and winners from the in-house PF wranglings, and our perspective on the Kutumpa Uko QUIP and other topics. So, in summary, we have said that there is a less than 1% chance for Mr. Lungu to make a comeback. Abo bachenene ba Lungu na bantu babo twalifula sana elofo ebengini fo support no buteko bubuli. So ngachako atkwa kuisa nomba imya Third World War iwatampa ku Ukraine nomba ise itampe na ku Zambia. So mwikala patalala mwini apatalalika bena Lungu bekale panchi mu. Then we've spoken about the potential for potential losers and winners. We have said that those people who left Patriotic Front and went back are the biggest losers because they are stuck with a dead institution that's not going anywhere. So the winners from the in-wranglings of the PF wranglings are the UPND. So Pantro number opposition, the biggest opposition, against each other. And our perspective on the Kutumpa Uko comment of the president is join us next week at the same time for trending news and events analysis with Dr. Kasonso here. And I will ask my friend Derek before we leave the airwaves to say his last comments today.
All right. Dr. Kasonso, first of all, we should say we should continue in this spirit. This is a way of us connecting with Zambia. This is a way of connecting the diaspora with, what's happening on the ground in Zambia. And my last point, excuse me, I was in and out because I'm between different responsibilities. So that's why I was in and out. But the point I would like to put on the table is that the word of Ukutumpa, it brings in the politics of the street, where the president needed to reconnect with the people, ordinary people who are in the taxi rank, the language in the taxi rank, the people in the, on the ground. It's because there's a way in which we engage with politics. So just that statement itself includes, the underground forces to connect with the politics of Zambia. So far, so good.
Thank you so much, Brother Derek. Please come with your points to next week's show at the same time. For now, to our viewers, please like our page, subscribe, and follow us, and ask more people to follow us. We have substantive discussions, and join us tomorrow when I join Robbie to answer some questions about economic development, small business development, talking about business. which is a totally different subject matter than what we're dealing with in this program. Thank you for seeing us today, and may God bless the Republic of Zambia. See you next time.
Bye.